Bitcoin versus MSTR, guys. Wow. This video deserves a cup of green tea. We're going to be going in pretty deep on both assets. I haven't seen a lot of people on YouTube kind of really juxtaposing both of these positions simply because they're extremely complicated. You've got, two camps. You've got the Bitcoiners who understand, the power of, a fixed cryptocurrency. And then you've got, the MSTR crowd. This is the crowd who likes to invest in the stock market. They like to sell options on their positions. And, I understand that there's basically value in both camps. And we're going to basically talk about this in depth in this video. So, we're really going to go in on the differences, key differences, similarities, things to look out for, things to avoid. We're going to look at, we're going to break down how, Bitcoin works. We're going to break down how MSTR works. And to give you guys, a kind of a really interesting way to figure out what you want to do with your capital. And the reason is simply this is not financial advice, okay? I'm not telling you what to do in this video. I'm simply sharing with you what I've been doing. And I'm going to be sharing with you, some of the tricks and tips that I've learned along the way on my Bitcoin and MSTR journey. Give you guys quick reference. I've been into Bitcoin since 2019. And I've been into MSTR since 2021. Okay, so I've been holding both assets for quite some time. So I've got just under 6 years of experience, and about 6 years experience in Bitcoin. I've got about 4 years of experience in MSTR. So this is coming from personal. Advice from me. Mistakes I've made, things I've done right along the way, and I like both. So just to give you guys a quick answer, I would say Bitcoin for savings, use Bitcoin for savings, and use MSTR for retirement. That's kind of the quick answer. And we're going to dive right into the video now, guys, so be sure to stay tuned. There's going to be some gems in this video. I'm going to really go in, okay? So let's get to it right away. Let's first start off with a very, very basic comparison. So we take a look here at Bitcoin versus MSTR. So quick background, Bitcoin, the first block was mined in 2009. Okay, Bitcoin's unofficial birthday is like January 2009. So Bitcoin's about 16 years old. Now, strategy stock, okay, it's formerly known as MicroStrategy. Company's been around for a while. It's been publicly traded for quite some time. It was founded by Michael Saylor and his friend. Okay, and the stock didn't really do much for a long time, but ever since Michael Saylor enacted his Bitcoin strategy in August 2020, that was during the pandemic, when he figured out that there was a huge problem with his company. His company wasn't growing because they were holding cash, United States dollars, on the balance sheet instead of a fixed currency or something fixed that retains its value. So that's Bitcoin. So we take a look here. First, let's look at the 5-year return. So we see here that Bitcoin is up 900% over the last 5 years. Strategy is up over 3,000%. So right there, big difference in the returns. And then we look over the last year, over the last 52 weeks, Bitcoin is up 50% and strategy is up 200%. So what are you going to take away from this right off? First off, we know that these assets are not the same. Okay, they're quite different. And the reason why they're different, okay, is simply because Bitcoin, okay, Bitcoin is a fixed cryptocurrency, right, guys? It doesn't change the protocol. There's 21 million coins, right? It's fixed. So it's traded on crypto exchanges and things like that. You can send it anywhere you want. It's hard money. Now, strategy stock is a little bit different. Okay, strategy stock is really a security. Okay, it's not a crypto asset. It's not property, digital property like Bitcoin. It's a security. And as it's a security, that means that Michael Saylor and Michael Saylor is the executive chairman of strategy, the CEO of strategy, Feng Li, they can do a lot of different things to increase the returns for shareholders using leverage, okay? And we're going to talk a lot about that in this video, so just stay tuned. But I want you to know right off that yes, MSTR has outperformed Bitcoin by a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit. So let's head over to my notes that I've got. Okay, so first I've just got some like quick notes here comparing the two assets. So let's just go over them really quickly, right? So first off, hold on guys, pop this AC on. First off, we've got Bitcoin. So like I mentioned, fixed supply, first block mined in 2009. 1% annual inflation rate, about 1%. Okay, what do I mean by inflation rate? Take a look here. This is on Case Bitcoin. So on Case Bitcoin, we can see the Bitcoin inflation rate, 1.17%. What this means is the amount of Bitcoin that's entering into circulation annually via the miners, okay? So Bitcoin does have an inflation rate, albeit it's less than, the United States Federal Reserve target inflation, which is usually around, I would say, 2 to 3%. Okay? That's what the Fed's looking for in terms of inflation. Now Bitcoin's actually lower than that. Right? And it's decentralized. So no one entity, no one company, no one organization controls Bitcoin. It's distributed through the miners. Anyone can mine Bitcoin. It's pretty much open source. Now, with MSTR, like I mentioned, it's a leverage play. Okay. The supply is a lot different. Now, right now, strategy is holding a vote to increase the amount of authorized shares to 10 billion. Why? So they can purchase more Bitcoin through equity raises. Okay. So we're looking at about 21 million in fixed Bitcoin versus up to 10 billion shares. A Saylor bought Bitcoin first in August 2020. Okay, Michael Saylor, let's pull him up here. Okay, he is basically the engine behind strategy. Now, guys, he is not the CEO. That's a huge misconception. He actually stepped down as CEO, but he did run the company as CEO for a long time. He was the CEO for about I think it was a long time. Okay, he was the CEO for quite some time. So from 1989 until 2022. So you guys do some quick math there. He was the CEO for a really long time. He was the CEO for over 30 years. Okay, and he just realized that what he was doing wasn't working. Okay, and the reason why it wasn't working is because the balance sheet wasn't doing the lifting in his company. The profit and loss statement was. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. So he's the engine, though. Now he's the executive chairman. So he kind of stepped back. A CEO, he's basically doing day-to-day operations in a company, fixing big problems. Saylor doesn't want to do that anymore. He just wants to focus on Bitcoin. So that's why he stepped down as CEO. Okay. Now, MSTR has a 16% annual inflation rate as of last year. Now, how did I calculate that? Well, all I did was I went over to Max, and we're talking about the shares outstanding. So inflation rate for shares is how many shares have been issued over the last 52 weeks, over the last year. And you can see here that in 2024, Saylor and those guys over at Strategy increased the share count by 16%. There's a lot more inflation when it comes to strategy stock. Strategy stock is centralized, meaning that the board of directors, Saylor, the CEO, they're the ones, pulling the strings. They're deciding what happens to MSTR stock. Obviously, the shareholders can vote, but it's centralized, okay? Bitcoin yield. Bitcoin yield is the increase in Bitcoin in respect to the amount of shares outstanding. In other words, how much more Bitcoin has been added to each share, per share, over, a year. So Bitcoin yield is a really important metric. Okay, strategy is aiming for a 15% Bitcoin yield. So that means that you're able to have more Bitcoin per one share of strategy stock per one share of MSTR than you did last year. So in other words, your shares are getting more and more valuable over time, even though you're not investing more money. Pretty cool. And so far they've done quite well with Bitcoin yield. So Bitcoin yield has been one of the key metrics that Saylor has come up with. And because of Bitcoin yield, the company has been able to make quite a bit of money off of their Bitcoin holdings. Okay, they've really made some good money. So basically, Bitcoin yield is really attracting investment capital into MSTR shares. And this is one of the things that people don't understand. There's a reason why people are investing at a premium into MSTR. Okay, so we could pull up MSTR. We go to the MSTR strategy tracker. Yes, this is it. So strategy tracker kind of tracks the profit, right, of the Bitcoin strategy. So the Bitcoin strategy has yielded $15 billion in profit for strategy and MSTR shareholders. And the Bitcoin yield so far year to date is around 13%. So this is really powerful to understand, because when you have Bitcoin, if you don't purchase it, you don't have any more. You just have what you have, right? You can't get more Bitcoin. But strategy stock is different, because what's going on is Saylor is actually purchasing Bitcoin for you. So if you don't buy Bitcoin, your shares are accumulating more Bitcoin. This is very powerful. This allows you to stack Bitcoin passively. Your Bitcoin per share is going up even though you're not investing more money. Very powerful. Big reason why a lot of people are investing in MSTR. And finally, options, guys. Options, meaning with MSTR, let me head over here to Robinhood. You can generate income with your MSTR shares. Right? You can sell covered calls on them. Write covered calls is another way to put it. Generate premiums. So but you need at least 100 shares to do this. So let's say I had 100 shares of strategy in this Robinhood account, and it's trading currently, the last year's trading price was like $3.96. I could potentially sell an option at $4.40. I don't think strategy stock is going to increase more than 10% in a week. Click that here, and I could collect a premium on my shares. This also helps increase the yield that you can generate. Pretty cool. So that's another reason why people are interested in MSTR. And I think MSTR is really, really misunderstood, because I just think with Bitcoin's success, everyone is just gung-ho Bitcoin, gung-ho Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has its place. It's fantastic for savings. And the reason it's fantastic for savings is because it solved the money problem. So we're back here on CoinMarketCap. We're taking a look here that the total market cap of cryptocurrency is around $3 trillion. Bitcoin is nearly 2/3 of that. So Bitcoin has solidified itself as the best modern day savings account. In my opinion, Bitcoin is the best way to save your money in the 21st century. Bitcoin cannot be printed on demand, unlike MSTR stock. Bitcoin is fixed. Anyone can purchase Bitcoin, okay? One of the downsides to MSTR is that you need a brokerage account to purchase it, i.e., you pretty much need to live in a high socioeconomic society, right? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Singapore, somewhere like that. If you live in Botswana, you probably can't invest in MSTR stock. But people in Botswana can buy Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has really changed the global financial landscape and made savings accessible to 8 billion people. One of the biggest issues I've noticed, and I've been traveling the world, off and on, since 2010, I visited over 23 countries. And one of the things I realized is that a lot of people living in, let's not say third world countries, let's say developing countries. Let's be PC here. Developing countries is that they don't have access to savings. So a lot of people don't have a savings account. So, I'm from the United States, born and raised, went to college there. And, almost everyone has a savings account, right? Oh, you guys are interested in my favorite savings account. My favorite high yield savings account is SoFi, guys. You can check that out. I'll throw a link down there. You guys can sign up. SoFi is really great. Good stock too, but I like SoFi savings. You guys can sign up for that if you guys live in the States. And the important thing about what Bitcoin does is that it gives everyone a savings account. So in a lot of developing countries, people don't have identification, or they don't live close to a bank. They don't live close to an ATM, right? Let's say you live in the countryside somewhere. You have to drive, I don't know, a bunch of miles or kilometers, wherever you guys are watching this from. You have to drive really far to get to a bank. Or you need a bunch of identification. You need a minimum balance, right? Some of these banks around the world, you have to deposit a certain amount of money. You have to have a proof of residence, all of these things. And Bitcoin doesn't have any of that. You don't have to prove your identity. You don't have to have a proof of residence. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you're from, where you went to school. None of that stuff matters when it comes to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has solidified itself as the best savings account for anyone. You can live in Botswana, you can live in Haiti, you can live in, Dubai, you can live in the United States, you can live in Colombia. It doesn't matter. You have access to Bitcoin. So this is one of the important reasons why so many people have adopted the Bitcoin standard. Now we take a look back here. We could look at Bitcoin's returns are insane, guys. So over the past 5 years, Bitcoin's up, as we saw earlier in the chart right in the beginning of this video. Bitcoin is up about 970%. Over the last 10 years, Bitcoin is up 40,000%. Insane gains. Now, over the last 10 years, the S&P is up 170% and gold is up 173%. So what does this mean? This means that, obviously those huge returns of the past are probably not available anymore due to the early mover advantage, right? Anytime you get in on an asset early, your returns are going to be much higher. Your returns are going to be much compounded much higher. But if Bitcoin follows like an adoption curve, an exponential adoption curve, there could be massive returns coming in the future, just like with a lot of those .com companies that survived in 2000. A lot of them are making huge profits now, okay, the ones that survive. Some of the early .com companies I can think of off the top of my head, right, not just during the .com bust, but, ones that were before or after. So I'm thinking Amazon, Meta, companies like that, Google, companies that survived and thrived much further on. And that could happen as well with Bitcoin. It could be a lot of growth in the future. So I don't think it's too late to buy Bitcoin. I really don't. Okay. Another thing about Bitcoin is that you can transfer it quickly and easily. You don't need a third party, right? You don't need a third party. You don't need permission. If I can send Bitcoin to you, you guys can send Bitcoin to me. Okay, I can post my Bitcoin wallet address. You guys can go to your cryptocurrency exchange or go to your crypto wallet. You can send value, Bitcoin, to me at any time you want, 24/7, 365. And the transactions of the Bitcoin network aren't really clogged up. They don't take very long, okay? They can take, under, 5 to 10 minutes. You can use the Lightning Network and it's even faster, but usually Bitcoin transactions don't take very long, 5, 10 minutes. Sometimes they hang up a bit, but they're pretty quick. Okay? And the CUGR, the compounded annual growth rate on Bitcoin is insane. So over the last 10 years, it's 83%. What this means is, another way to look at CUGR is you can look at it as like a built-in interest rate. So for people that have been holding Bitcoin, they've been getting 83% APY yield on their money every year for the last 10 years. Versus a lot of you guys out there who have your money in traditional savings accounts, like a high yield savings account, you're getting what the Fed fund rate is paying, which is what, like 4%, something like that. And for some of you guys, even worse, you guys have your money in some of these accounts where you're barely getting 1%. So your savings isn't growing. You're losing value because the purchasing power continues to dwindle. This is one of the reasons why so many people appreciate Bitcoin, because it preserves your purchasing power. Something that traditional fiat currencies like the United States dollar, the euro, they don't do very well. They don't preserve your purchasing power. Now look at Bitcoin's CUGR in comparison to gold and the S&P 500. Absolutely crushing it, right? CUGR, the return annual is around annually 10%, 11% on gold, 10% S&P. You're underperforming when you don't have Bitcoin in your portfolio. You're underperforming. You're underperforming pretty much everything. Okay. Now, how to outperform Bitcoin. This is where MSTR comes in. So we've done a pretty good deep dive on, Bitcoin, why it's useful, how people are using it. Now let's do the leverage play with MSTR. I'm going to show you guys something pretty cool so you can really understand what exactly is going on with MSTR and why so many people have it for their retirement. So one of the problems is with retirement is that, guys, I'm 38 years old. So my IRA is set up. My plan is to start withdrawing from my IRA at 59.5 because I don't have to pay penalties if I do it after 59.5. So I have about a 20-year time frame until I'm thinking about retirement. But like me, and many of you probably watching this video, you didn't take your retirement as serious as you should have. Now, I've done a good job in saving. I've done a pretty good job investing in the stock market, but I haven't done a great job investing in my retirement account because for me, 20 years is off. It's a long time. And if I'm blessed to, be alive and healthy enough, I'm going to need more money than I will in my 30s. Why? Because I'm older, right? My tastes are probably changing. I probably want to travel. If I'm flying somewhere, I want to fly first class if I can afford it. I want to stay in a nicer hotel. I do have children. If I have grandchildren, I want to treat them, something like that in the future. So my cost of living is probably going to be much higher by 59.5. I need more capital. So I like Bitcoin for saving. Bitcoin is great for saving, but Bitcoin I don't think is going to give you those exceptional returns that you can get when you're investing in a stock like MSTR. So I like MSTR because you can hold this stock in your brokerage account. Okay. Right? It's not as liquid. When I'm investing for retirement, I don't want liquidity. If I'm investing for the next 20 years, I don't want to be able to access the money. Mess up the money is potentially that I can mess up the money. Guys know how it is. You want to buy things. So I like the fact that I have some capital sitting in a retirement account that is illiquid. It's not easy to sell. It's not easy to mess up. And it's kind of out of reach because I want to keep it out of reach. I don't want access to that money. I want that money to stay out of reach. So you could set this up with a retirement account at Fidelity, Vanguard. You can buy MSTR, Robinhood, E-Trade, whatever. Take your pick. And what this does is Bitcoin has already done exceptional returns. So now let's take a look at MSTR, guys. This is where things get interesting. So I showed you guys the compounded annual growth rate over the last 5 years on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was 61%. MSTR's compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years is 100%. So it's doing even better than Bitcoin because it's a leverage play. We're going to talk about this, how this works. So strategy can really supercharge your retirement. This is a strategy. Now strategy stock is extremely volatile. So this is why I don't recommend using it for savings. It's a long-term hold, okay? Let's talk about why that is. As of now, strategy is holding 553,000 Bitcoin. It's the largest corporate Bitcoin holder in the entire world. They have at current times they have more Bitcoin than the government, the United States government, and the government of China this combined. They're the single most powerful entity in the world when it comes to Bitcoin, obviously other than Satoshi, and he's anonymous. But they're the single most powerful, publicly known organization on the planet when it comes to Bitcoin. And they do this through several ways, okay? They issue shares, right? So they issue shares, okay? They issue shares, and then they issue debt, right? This is their strategy, purchasing Bitcoin. So you can see here, they've got a plan of raising capital. They're going to use fixed income converts, they're going to use debt, and they're going to sell MSTR stock on the market. Let me explain to you guys why MicroStrategy has such ridiculously high returns. They're using a brilliant arbitrage strategy that I don't realize why more people are not doing this, okay? And it's simply using their fixed income products, okay? So they use fixed income products like STRK, STRF to raise capital. That's to give people a yield. It's like a strategy bond. They just give people a fixed income yield. This is good for older investors, okay? So for you guys over 40 and you're looking for income, you can take a look at STRK, STRF. We're going to talk about that in a separate video. But right now we're going to focus on MSTR. And then also what Saylor is doing is he's selling MSTR shares on the market. Why is he selling MSTR shares on the market? I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, if Saylor's buying Bitcoin, I should just buy Bitcoin. Let's take a look at what he's really doing. And to understand this, you need to pay attention to the multiple of the Bitcoin net asset valuation, i.e. the MNAV. The MNAV is the key factor in how this strategy works. So right now, strategy stock is trading at an MNAV of over 2. That means that the company is valued at twice as much as its actual underlying Bitcoin holdings. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at this right now. Okay, so their Bitcoin balance is $53 billion worth of Bitcoin, but the company's valued at $107 billion. Why is Saylor selling MSTR stock to buy Bitcoin? Because he's selling MSTR stock at twice the price of the underlying Bitcoin. Think of it like this. He's getting $2 for the company's valuation in Bitcoin and then buying back Bitcoin at a cheaper price. He's able to profit off of the premium, off the MSTR premium. And the reason why the stock is going up so much is because he's just doing this over and over and over and over again. It would be like if you guys had an Amazon store or a Shopify store and you were able to, let's say you guys are selling shoes. If you're able to sell shoes at $100 and buy them from a supplier at $50, you're doubling your money. You're getting $100, buying it for $50. So you're making $50 profit, $50 profit, $50 profit over and over and over and over and over again. This is what Saylor has done. He's figured out a glitch in the financial system. He's figured out a way to basically sell MSTR stock at a premium and then take that same money and buy back Bitcoin. Because MSTR shares are trading above their net asset value. This is a current glitch in the financial system. I don't know how long this will last. It'll probably lose favor as Bitcoin's price keeps going up and up and up, well into the millions of dollars, simply because everyone will be doing it. But right now, there's only a few companies doing this, okay? So off the top of my head, I know obviously Strategy, Mara, Mara's doing this, Riot, blockchain, Similar Scientific, Metaplanet in Japan. I know there's a new company coming out, 21 Capital, that's being run by Jack Mallers, the young Bitcoin guy over at Strike. There's really not many people in the corporate space doing this right now, this money glitch. So what it's doing is it's reducing the margin of safety for Saylor because he's basically able to, get $2 and then buy Bitcoin for $1 over and over and over again. And another reason why people are doing this is because a lot of people don't want to mess around with Bitcoin. A lot of people don't want to store it. A lot of people don't want to worry about custody and your seed phrase and your private keys and transferring Bitcoin. Remember, a lot of people with a lot of capital are much older. And older people, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now, I know a lot of you guys watching this are probably over 40, but I know a lot of you guys over 40 are interested in setting up a crypto wallet. But you want exposure to Bitcoin. So what people are doing is they're basically paying Saylor money to buy Bitcoin for them, literally. Like, he is the conduit. He's the middleman. Why go to Coinbase or Robinhood and buy Bitcoin myself and then I have to worry about it? I just give my money to Saylor and he'll buy it for me. And then he's going to continue to buy it. He's very consistent with his Bitcoin purchases. Strategy has done a fantastic job of stacking Bitcoin up over time. They've continuously, increased their holdings quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. Okay, they've done a fantastic job of building up the company's Bitcoin balance. Okay, here's a slide. I was looking for it. They've done a fantastic job of building up the company's Bitcoin balance. As you can see here, they've increased their Bitcoin holdings every quarter since they started this strategy. They started out with 38,000 Bitcoin, and now they have over 553,000. Let's be honest, guys. A lot of you guys in crypto, you're not consistent. Even me sometimes. I'm not able to increase my Bitcoin holdings every 3 months, every year. Life happens. Sometimes you need to sell Bitcoin to buy something. Sometimes you might lose your job, whatever. You don't know what's going to happen in life. You might have a new birth in the family. Kids are expensive. I've got 3 of them. They're very expensive. So, you might have to put off your Bitcoin purchases. But Saylor doesn't. Saylor's able to raise capital like we can't. Guys like you and me, right? We're crypto bros or whatever. We invest in crypto. Or you ladies out there, you invest in crypto. But you're not able to get the type of the billions and billions and billions of dollars that Saylor is able to get. He's able to get access to more capital than you and I can. He's an MIT engineer. He has connections. He was a CEO on Wall Street for over 30 years. He's a billionaire. His Rolodex is full of people that are willing to throw billions of dollars at him to buy Bitcoin, to buy strategy bonds like STRF, STRK. We just don't have that access to that capital. And now what's been crazy is that strategy's been able to acquire nearly 3% of all the Bitcoin in existence. This is coming from the Q1 2025 first quarter earnings report, which is ridiculous. And it's hard for anyone to do this at this point. He's invested over $50 billion into Bitcoin. This is not a small number. I don't know many companies that even have $50 billion in cash, let alone that could put $50 billion in cash in a cryptocurrency. I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe like Amazon, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Google. How many companies have $53 billion in cash just sitting there? So what he's done is really, really hard to replicate at this point. He's almost 5 years in. It'll be 5 years in August 2025. He's so far ahead of everyone. You'd be crazy to ignore what he's doing. You'd be crazy to think, well, I can easily replicate it. Even most of these Mag 7 companies are not going to take $50 billion and buy Bitcoin. And what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin's price if they tried to do that? If they tried to smash buy $50 billion worth of Bitcoin? Man, it's going to make Bitcoin so expensive so quickly. It doesn't even make sense that they would do it. And their shareholders will probably vote against it just like Microsoft shareholders have. So there is a big advantage in giving your money to the top brand, the market mover, the top corporate Bitcoin, holding company on the planet. And that's exactly what I've done. That's exactly what a lot of other investors have done. And, it's going to pay dividends. I really believe it's already paid dividends. I mean, strategy stock is up 30x since this happened. Okay. 3,000%. Probably a top performing stock, I would say, in the entire United States that I could think of. They joined the NASDAQ 100. Pretty impressive what he's done. Remember, selling his stock at $2, 2x, buying Bitcoin at 1x, over and over and over and over and over again. The risk reward here for strategy is ridiculous. There are some downfalls. There are some risk factors. So now let's talk about risk factors, and we're going to wrap this thing up. The risk factor for strategy would be a crash in Bitcoin's price, obviously. If the convertible debt, right? A lot of these convertible notes, okay, there's about $8 billion in convertible notes. They have a strike price. If Bitcoin crashes, this strategy will collapse on itself. But Bitcoin hasn't crashed to zero. Bitcoin's been strong, okay? Take a look here, right? Let's move this to the side. Bitcoin's been pretty strong, okay? Bitcoin's been strong. Here we are, five-year chart. Bitcoin's been strong, okay? Strategy's been even stronger, but Bitcoin really hasn't crashed. It hasn't been a crash to a bottom, going to zero. Hasn't happened yet. Why? Because so many people save in Bitcoin. I save in Bitcoin. A lot of other people save in Bitcoin. So let's throw that out. I don't think Bitcoin's going to crash to zero, so there's not a lot of risk in holding strategy shares. The second thing is that you can mitigate that risk using options, okay? As I mentioned here, a lot of you guys, if you guys have over 100 strategy shares, or even if you don't, you can sell put options. This will protect you from any potential downside. So we go over here, you go into Robinhood, okay? You want to go over here, right? You want to change this to put. You'll buy a put option, okay? So you can sell puts, cash secured puts to generate income, right? So this will allow you to basically, if you have a bunch of cash and you want to, you're bullish on strategy stock, you're bullish on MSTR, you can simply generate income doing that. Or what you can do is you protect yourself from downside. You can buy a put option. So like, let's say you think there's going to be a crypto bear market in 2026. Okay, maybe you could buy like this put here, expiring at the end of December 2026, and then you can buy it either near the money if you have the capital, or you can even buy it down here, right? Let's say you think strategy stock's going to crash. All right, you buy one of these puts down here. So that way, even if strategy stock does go down, your put's going to go up in value. So it's going to offset the loss. So your shares are going to go down, but then the put's going to go up. So you really haven't lost anything. Buying put options for downside protection and selling cash secured puts for income. So that's another way to mitigate the risk. And the third reason that I think there is a potential risk is obviously if something happens to Michael Saylor. This isn't something that a lot of people are talking about, but a lot of people are investing in MSTR stock because of Saylor. So Saylor's 60 years old. I think he's relatively healthy. He seems vibrant. He's very active. But if his health were to change, that could potentially cause some problems. So, but we see Warren Buffett. Saylor's pretty much the Warren Buffett of when it comes to crypto, right? Buffett's a long-term investor. Now Buffett's interesting because Buffett's stepping down as CEO. He's done it for 60 years. So he's stepping down as Berkshire Hathaway CEO. They're replaced by Greg Abel. Buffett's he's almost 95 years old. He's walking with a cane. So Saylor is 60 years old. So Buffett's got an extra 35 years on Saylor. Saylor's a rich guy, billionaires, they're able to take care of their health better than the average Joe. So I wouldn't worry too much about Saylor. He should be around for quite some time. But if something were to happen to Saylor, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would lose their motivation for investing in MSTR and they would probably dump the stock. So that's kind of my deep dive on Bitcoin versus MSTR. When it comes to Bitcoin, the risks are just, really the biggest risk with Bitcoin, I would say, is just not knowing how to store it properly. If you don't know how to store your seed phrase, if you don't know how to protect your private keys, you're screwed. So the easiest way to do that, use common sense. Don't trust people, right? Don't share your seed phrase with someone you don't trust. Don't open any emails you receive. Don't take phone calls. Any phone call, email, message you get from someone you don't know when it comes to crypto, hit delete. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. Always delete. Companies like Coinbase, Robinhood, Kraken, KuCoin, Guys, they have tens of millions of customers. They're not going to call you about anything. So if you get any correspondence or anyone reaching out to you at anything to do with crypto, block automatically. I don't care what it is. Block, block, block. Because a lot of people get scammed in crypto because they're talking to strangers. You know, you got to realize that Bitcoin's valuable. You know, crypto's valuable, guys. A lot as Bitcoin goes up further and further, a lot of people are going to be coming for your money. Bad people, people with bad intentions. So me, I just block everything. Even if it looks like it's coming from a crypto exchange, if it looks like it's coming from someone I know, just delete. Delete, delete, delete. Always access your crypto accounts from your own devices, right? Trust no one, okay? Don't let anyone know how much Bitcoin and things you have, right? Be smart. Be humble, right? You can use cold storage, you can have your own private wallet. You can mix up your holdings. Me, I like to mix everything up. I like the Bitcoin. I have some money in the Bitcoin ETFs, Grayscale in particular. Got some money in MSTR. Got some Bitcoin. I like diversity. I'm not all in on any asset. I don't need tons of risk. For some of you guys out there, you're all in BTC, all in MSTR. Great, but I don't have the cojones for that. I sleep better having a little bit of everything. The ETFs, Bitcoin, and MSTR, I like all three. Anything with Bitcoin I like. I don't not like anything that has Bitcoin. Because if it has Bitcoin, it's helping to make me money and a lot of other people money. So I like it. So those are the biggest risk factors I would say with crypto, just not knowing how to store it properly. So just like I said, protect yourself out there. Don't trust anybody. Okay? There are a lot of people that are going to suffer in the new economy, in the automation era, right? We're leaving the the era, we're going into automation. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs because they haven't been updating their skill sets. There's going to be a lot of poverty, a lot of homelessness. Modern women are cooked, especially because modern women basically went to serve their boss, their corporate boss, instead of their husband. So what happens when these corporate bosses enact AI, use AI, and they don't need a lot of women at these jobs? Because let's be honest, guys, we all know the Pareto principle, right? 20% employees are producing 80 to 90% of the output. So a lot of women in corporate America are not really pushing pushing forward top line growth and the bottom line. Don't get me wrong. Women are crucial to society, but the jobs they work are not crucial to the bottom line. And a lot of these jobs can be replaced with AI, artificial intelligence. So just protect yourself out there, especially for you men watching this. You ladies too, but I know most of you guys are male because, probably 90% of Bitcoiners are male. Protect yourself when it comes to Bitcoin and MSTR. You are going to be a hot commodity as Bitcoin starts running to 200K, 500K, $1 million. Protect yourself. Don't trust anybody. Just really make sure you're in good company, right? You are the company you keep. So just keep your circle small, in my opinion. Don't trust too many people. Bitcoin is a rare opportunity. MSTR is a rare opportunity. If you got into these assets before everyone else, you are going to have so much more money and so much more purchasing power than the average Joe. It's ridiculous. So just protect yourself out there, guys. Be careful. And I just want to give that warning out here because, so many people talk about the money. Let's talk about potential downside risk. You guys need to protect yourselves when you're holding these assets as well. So that's all I got about now, guys. I think I kind of went in depth talking about Bitcoin versus MSTR. Let me know if I left anything out. Like I said, if you guys want more videos like this, let me know in the comments section. Yeah, so give me a subscribe as well. If you like this long form format. I feel like no one else has talked about it in depth like this. And I really enjoy watching Sailor's long videos on Bitcoin and stuff like that. I feel like Bitcoin, MSTR, it's so complicated. It's hard to just discuss it in just like 10 minutes. There's so many things to talk about. We need more time. So this video's run for about 45 minutes. I'm just going to cut it off right now. Like I said, with Bitcoin, MSTR, things change so much. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up video. Let me guys know if you want me to do a follow-up video specifically about MSTR. We're going to kind of just go over, just focus on that. Because I know a lot of you guys out there, you just feel more comfortable investing in MSTR. because it's leverage play, because your returns can be much greater. Okay, so let me just guys, staying and wrap things up. Thank you guys for watching again. And please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this content, and give this video a like as well. If you guys want more, you guys want to go to my website. I have more videos and more articles on there just about Bitcoin and MSTR in general. My website is tarikpierce.com. You guys can check that out. Check out my blog. And that's all I got until next time, guys. Take care.